beautiful faces are here, and you all have on red. Go ahead, George.
Good afternoon. The time is now 4:40. We are calling this Go Team work session to order. Today, our topic of discussion will be math resources. We will not have any action items today. It will be discussions only.
Okay.
Ms. Prather, can you take roll for us now?
Yes. Constance Franklin. Rebecca Wallace. Beth Hayden. Here. Kalisha George.
Here.
Latanya Bankston. Here. Elizabeth Prather. Here. Dr. Morgan. And Dr. Kane.
Here.
Okay, guys, we're going to get started with our Go Team work session. So the purpose of this meeting is I want to go discuss with you guys a little bit of our math data and have a discussion on what we are looking to do with our math moving forward. So in full transparency, principals had a meeting with the district. We talked about a little data. We talked about the state of math at this point. And we talked about what are our next steps? Like, what are some things we need to do now? Okay. So I'm going to start by sharing a little bit of information with you guys. Okay. And please just kind of jump in and ask questions as you see necessary. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So our current math resource for middle school is Amplify Math. And Amplify is the platform in which the math curriculum is housed. There was a grant that the district wrote about 3 years ago in order to look directly at math and what we were going to do with learning loss during COVID. This is the district's data. This was what was presented recently to us as far as the state of math. So we're talking pre-pandemic in 2019 in 6th grade. These are our current 7th graders, okay? This 6th graders is our current 7th graders, but they're showing over 6th grade. In 6th grade in 2019, we had 34.7% of our students who tested in beginning. This is the whole district. In 2023, which was last year, which is our current 7th graders, it was 6th graders last year, we had 46.3% scoring in the beginning levels. It's important to note that they did a little comparison up here. That is 11.6 percentage points that we went up in the beginning level in our district. And they also noted that Fulton County had a smaller increase of 4.7. Okay, so then we take a look at our proficient or above. We see here that we actually had a decline in our students who scored proficient or above. There was a 7.1 percentage point decline. These are our current 7th graders. They were 6th graders last year. Okay, these are our current 8th graders. But in 2019, our 7th graders scored 33.6%. that were scoring in the beginner level. Last year, we had 39.2% scoring in the beginner level. That's a 5.6 percentage point difference. That means we increased our beginner learners, not the place where we want to increase, okay? So then we look at proficient. This is 7th graders in 2019 versus 7th graders from last year. In 2019, this is pre-pandemic, 31.2% of our students scored proficient or above. Last year, only 23.1% of our students scored proficient or above. This is the entire school district, okay? That's a 8.1 percentage point difference. So now I want to take a look at King's data, okay? So sixth graders, beginners levels increased. We're talking sixth graders. They're different students each year. From 2019 to 2023, we had an increase in the level of beginners. But from 2022, this is post-pandemic, since the use of Amplify, we had a decrease for sixth graders by 3%. Seventh grader beginner levels increased. In that span, 2019 to 2023, we had an increase. And we also had an increase of seventh graders. These are seventh graders last year and seventh graders in 2021, 22, and seventh graders in 22, 23. Okay, so these are not the same kids, but it's the same level, if that makes sense. Had an increase by 5% of students and beginners. Eighth graders, beginners, increased from 2019 to 2023. That's pre-pandemic to last year. There also was an increase since the use of Amplify from 2022 to 2023 by 2% of eighth graders that scored beginner in the beginner level. Now let's look at the proficient and distinguished. Now we want these to increase, okay? From 2019 to between 2019 and 2023, we had a decrease in sixth grade of the percentage of students who are proficient. But with since the use of our curriculum, we had an increase from 2022 to 2023 by 4%. Proficient level, we want that to increase, okay? Seventh grade proficient and distinguished levels decreased by 2% between the time of 2019 to 2023. But from 22 to 23, they decreased as well by 4%. So during that time that we used Amplify. Now we go to eighth graders. Eighth graders, our eighth grade proficient and distinguished levels decreased by 4% from 2019 to 2023. But from 22 to 23, since the implementation of Amplify, it increased by 2%. That's a lot, but you guys have seen this data before. Now remember, these are just the grade level comparisons, okay? It's not the same kids, okay? The next slide I'm gonna show you is an attempt to compare the same kids, okay? Now, this is a comparison of the same students. So they were sixth graders in 21, 22. They were seventh graders last year, and there are current eighth graders, okay? Everybody follow? They had a decrease of 10% of beginners, and they had an increase of 3% of proficient to distinguished. Okay, now we only have 2 years of data since the implementation of Amplify, okay, because they did not take it. There was a period of time where they didn't take it because of COVID. All right, so the bottom is a seventh graders comparison. They were seventh graders in 2021, 22. They were eighth graders last year, and they're currently ninth graders. So they're not in our building anymore, but I wanted to make sure we showed this data. We had an increase of 10% for beginners and a decrease of 1% of proficient to distinguished. All right, that was a lot. Any questions so far? Oh, sorry, I didn't give you a chance to ask any questions. Huh? Okay. Now, I want to take a little bit of time and look at our subgroup data. Okay, all of our subgroups had a decrease since 2019, before COVID. Since 2019, there was a decrease in proficiency, except our multiracial group. Our multiracial group, actually, this is proficient and above, students who scored proficient and above. Our multiracial group actually had about almost a 20 percentage point gain. Okay, if you look at our Black students went down about 0.1%. Our Hispanic students went down from 2022. I'm looking at 22 to 23. Our Hispanic students went down about 0.2%. And our white students had a decline of about 10% in proficiency. All right, more subgroup data. This is the one that I really want us to pay attention to, okay? This is our students with disabilities data, and this is from 2019 to 2023. From 2019 to 2023, don't look at the blue, look at the orange. The blue are the students that are not labeled who are not students with disabilities, and our orange are students with disabilities. You'll see that in 2019, we had about 2.4% of our students scoring proficient or above. And by 2022, we had another increase. And then by 2023, we had about 4.1% proficient and above. Okay, and just to kind of wrap your head around how many students that is, we have about 134, 35 students with disabilities. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop the screen share for a minute. So with that, we are faced with, okay, so the data is there and it hasn't really improved. We haven't had a whole lot of time to improve the data, but what do we do now? What are our next steps? So the principals and the district staff kind of got together and we had a discussion on what do we need to do next. The principals was charged with going back to our teams and talking to our math department, talking to our math instructional coach, and just kind of seeing what do we need to do next to improve these scores. Okay. So I'm going to share with you the options that we were kind of given or we're faced with. Okay. Option one. Option one was to continue with Amplify as a resource. Okay. Now, it's important for you guys to know I did not make any changes to this. This was what was given to us. I have not made any changes with the pros and cons, but I do have some things I want to make sure that I clarify and I add for everybody. Okay. So I have not made any changes to what was given to me. The pros are teachers have been implementing it for 2 years, which means they have the professional learning on it. They know what to do. 2 years is not enough time to see enough growth. The resources are in school, which means we have paper resources, we have books, and we also have a digital platform of Amplify. The assessments for Amplify are included. And professional, like I said, professional development and professional learning has been offered. Our district staff and our teachers are all trained. And the Georgia DOE lessons and the Georgia DOE curriculum uses Amplify as a resource. When you go to the Georgia DOE curriculum, you'll see that Amplify is one of their resources that they pull ideas and things from. Okay. The cons, it sometimes feel like we're teaching a program and not the standards, right? It's not, some of it is not directly aligned to the new Georgia standards. However, in Atlanta Public Schools, we've made the shift. We've made sure that our lessons align with the Georgia standards, okay? Some stakeholders complain that there's too much time in the digital platform. And one of our concerns as teachers is that the differentiation is limited. Okay. Let's go to the next option. That's option 1. Option 2 is that we would just use the Georgia DOE units. Okay. Notice that all the options start with, we're going to be teaching the math standards. Okay. The pros, all inclusive units, including daily lesson plans. That's also a pro for Amplify. Amplify also has daily lesson plans included. The resources are online, same thing for Amplify. The teacher guidance and student work pages, same thing. It's just, this is more on paper, and Amplify is a digital platform, but it's important for everybody to know that Amplify also has a book, and at any point, any parent can request a copy of that workbook. That we have so many, and we have extras that we're willing to even send some home with students who may need that. Okay. And that should be made clear for all parents. Like, that's the first thing that we need to make clear. Professional development modulars are online, state developed and shared with assessment department that writes milestones. So we know that the Georgia milestones comes from the Georgia DOE, So we kind of have that as a pro, right? Directly aligned to the new standards. Diagnostic assessments included. There are some pre and post assessments that's included. There is not a unit assessment though. And differentiated lessons built in the units. So Amplify has some resources for differentiation, but it is clear that Georgia DOE actually has more options and more strategies that teachers can use. Okay. Some cons. Teachers will need time to internalize the lessons. So this is a new platform. It will be something new to our teachers. So they are going to have time to learn the Georgia DOE, which means this is not like something that we say, okay, we're doing this and we're starting Monday. No, this is a slow kind of rollout thing. Unit assessments are not included. So one of the things that you saw that was a pro for Amplify was that the unit assessments were included. The unit assessments are not included in the Georgia DOE, okay? And then we will need to print materials. There isn't a online platform for students to use, so we will have to do some printing of some assessments. Okay, those are option 1 and option 2. All right, we do have a third option, okay? Here is option 3. So option 3 is a combination of both, okay? So pros, teacher makes informed decisions on lesson plan based on standards. So being that we have a math instructional coach and a pretty strong math department in general, we have the opportunity to say, okay, so we're looking at like this example that's given on here. We're looking at investigating rate, ratio, and proportional reasons. We're going to look at both the Georgia DOE lessons, and we're also going to look at the Amplify lessons. And as the teachers, we're going to decide what needs to be taught and how we want to teach this based on both resources and to ensure student learning, okay? Current district guidance documents have some integration of both resources. There are different assessments are available in each resource. So we have some diagnostic assessments, we have some pre and post assessments. So we have the opportunity to pull from both. And it will give our teachers an opportunity to become familiar with both resources, okay? Some cons would be that, yes, this is going to take some time because our teachers will have to learn what all the Georgia DOE has with lessons on their website, all of the information that they have. And then they will have to be kind of professionally developed on both resources. Okay. We know that Okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing. That was a lot, right? So, tell me what you're thinking, and then I'm going to tell you where my teachers kind of landed, where they feel the most comfortable with ensuring that our kids learn. Now, this is like, we're talking about starting soon, right? So, where they feel like we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck. So tell me, anybody want to talk about what they're feeling, thoughts, anything? Yes, Ms. Hayden.
Just a couple clarifying, I guess, questions and stuff. One, I was real excited about Amplify when it came out. We were introduced to it. Seemed awesome. The language arts seems like it's being implemented really well. The math, I can't tell. All last year, the grade book was a yo-yo. And it's hard to go in and understand and support and everything else. And something I've heard from other parents of neurodivergent kids is that it's not great. It's not great for that. It's not as helpful as some of the older stuff. I'm not as, I don't care as much about tying directly to the milestones, because we know that's kind of what it is, and it'll change probably again soon. So, but I'm wondering if that sort of third combo option might be a best of both worlds situation.
Thank you, Ms. Hayden. Anybody else have an opinion either way?
Well, I apologize for coming on late, but I was thinking the same thing, Beth, about the third option. But I think I would really care about what the teacher said, because if a combination really means twice as much work, then I'm not sure if that's the way to go. So I'll be curious about their reaction.
Yeah, I was, Heather, I'm sorry, Rebecca, I'm with you. I was just thinking about that third option, because it sounds like, Ms. Gibbs, that it gives the teachers a little bit more flexibility in the classroom, and they can administer, I guess, the curriculum according to what's happening in the class and with the particular students. I'm not real familiar with all of the information, but what I saw sounds like it would be more advantageous for the student and the teacher. Did I get that right based on what I?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say this. We spent a lot of hours over the past couple of days just having a discussion. One thing that we all agree on, and that's me and the teachers, and even our associate, Mr. Brown, we all agree something different needs to happen, right? So we know that we have to do something. So that's an easy agreement. So after talking to the teachers and really just hearing them out and hearing how they're feeling about everything, it's important for me to say this before I tell you what they wanted. I know you're like, ooh, what is it? I'm like leading up to the big. It's important to note that we are a model school for Amplified. Our teachers do an excellent job of implementing it with fidelity. Okay. And although we haven't seen as much growth as we wanted to see, we've seen growth, right, in some areas. And we're proud about that growth that we've seen. We want to see more, and we know that there's a hole. And for us, when we look at both lessons and we look at both platforms, the biggest issue for us is making sure we're supporting our students with disabilities. We want to make sure that there's something in there for our students with disabilities, our ESL students, and closing that gap for our African-American students, okay? So we know that those are big for us. So our teachers would like to go with option 3. And that, it gives me chills to say it, because I'm gonna tell you why. They know it's gonna be more work for them. They know that it's going to mean that they have to do more, but they are so committed to making sure that our learners get what they need, that they are like, we get it. We know it's going to be more work. We know we have to do some more stuff, but we need to make sure that these scores improve. But more importantly, we need to make sure that our learners master the skill. So they really would like to move forward with this year, seeing as though we're in the middle of the year. They want to kind of move forward with both platforms, and they want to take the best of both worlds and have that flexibility of using both.
Well, and I think that helps them not just learning styles, but teaching styles too, right? Because some of the teachers I know caught on real quick and are like real natural with Amplify. And I know like my teaching style, I'd be on the struggle bus for like 5 years.
Yeah. And I have to be honest with you, like we struggle because we know all the benefits and resources that Amplify has to offer that many other places may not know, right? But we also know that there's a little tiny gap missing and that we want to fill that gap. And we also know that the platform is not finished being developed either for math. And we know that there's a lot of things that's going to be added into that platform that over the years will be beneficial to us. But right now we're in the here and now. And here and now, we want to make sure that our learners get what they need. And my math teachers are committed to improving these scores. Like they know that the next time I present data to you guys, they want me to be presenting data that says a large amount of growth. Anybody else want to add anything? Something burning?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, so from what type of resources do you think they would need externally from the community, from STEM Atlanta, from any of my partners, anything that we can do to provide any level of support?
Well, to be honest, they're amazing, number one. So we know that. But the only thing that I can think of, it wouldn't even be something that you guys could probably provide for us, is I'm just going to have to give them some grace and time. We're going to have to know that this is going to be a transition. I know that I'm going to have to pull them a few times a month to be able to have them properly trained on both resources, for them to take the time to look at both resources and compare and take out the things that are best. My math teachers are experts. They're all experts in math. They know the math. So now it's the point of, let's find out what exactly we need to be inputting into our lessons for all of our kids. And we started this year with data talks. So each content area, at least twice a month, they do a data talk with their instructional coach. And those data talks have been beneficial because what they're doing is they're looking at subgroups. They're looking at the last summative. They're looking at the last exit ticket that kids did. And they're really diving deep into that and seeing where the misconceptions were and what things they can do differently the next time that they go back in and teach. The district added in flex days for us this year, so that they have a pacing guide, but this flex day gives them the opportunity to go back and after they've looked at that data, to go back and do some reteaching, or to go back and do some skill, a teaching of a skill that might have been needed for this particular lesson that wasn't included in the standard this time. So to be honest, Dr. Kane, to answer your question, I know I went a long way around that, but to answer your question is just some grace and some time, and to know that they're not absent when I'm pulling them. They're trying to internalize the units and make a match.
Wow, thank you for that. I know it's a lot for them, and I'm just trying to figure out, what can we do to add any additional support, appreciation. It may even be, talking to the parents, getting the parents involved, seeing how they can reinforce, what the teachers are doing in the schools, something so that the teachers feel like, we got their back and that we're here to support them with the heavy lift that they have to do.
Thank you so much for that. So we might be reaching out because I do know that some of the teachers have mentioned they want more hands-on manipulatives, and they want more things that they can kind of have the kids have in front of them. Because one of the things with that platform that we know is that a lot of it is work it out on the platform, do it on the platform. Being able to do both gives now our learners the option to use the book. It gives them the option to do it on paper and not have to necessarily throw everything into the platform. It gives them the opportunity to be able to do some of that on paper, but they are in need of some manipulatives. And once I get that list together, I will share that with you guys, specifically what kind of things they might need, if that's okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's good for me.
And I will say for parents, and this is for any parents who are watching on YouTube or and even you guys that's in this meeting, also allowing time for your child to practice. You know, back in the day when I was in school, like 2 years ago, okay? Back in the day when I was in school, you had to come home, you had to read for 20 minutes, right? Reading was so important. And the parents was like, make sure you're reading, did you read today? And they signed off on your reading log, right? Well, we need to do the same thing with math, because we know that math is one of those things that we need to make sure our kids are practicing. We need to make sure that they're doing it every single day and it becomes a habit. And as parents, you guys can find resources, or I mean, you can pull off resources from anywhere, really. Like IXL has free programs. Khan Academy has free things that your kids can do if you want to do something outside of Amplify. You can even really go to the Georgia DOE website, and they have some of the same lessons that your kids are doing. They're available for parents to kind of pull and see some of those resources, and let your learners practice some of those questions and see where they're at. There are videos, all types of things that are available, okay? The other thing I want to say is there's Amplify practice questions as well. So at the end of each activity and lesson, have your learners look at those Amplify practice questions. It's okay for them to look at them, even sometimes if they are ready to go on to the next thing, and be ready and come in there as experts. We like that. We like when they come in as experts. And I was going to say something else about the way that they can practice. Okay, so yes, so just giving them the opportunity to practice some of that math at home. Come to our family engagement nights. We did a math lesson in October for our parents to kind of see what kind of questions it asks of our learners, what kind of things it wants Amplify, the way it's asking questions, and they're very mature. The questions are being asked in the best way I can say is in a very mature way, right? So it's important for us to see what our learners are doing. Your babies have access to things in Amplify. They can open stuff up for you and show you. But like I said, also use the Georgia DOE website. Miss Wallace, I see that you came unmuted.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of add to the parent engagement. I'm glad you said come to parent engagement, but also, every opportunity, the next PTSA meeting, maybe you should get up and just give a quick, rundown of what's happening and what parents can do at home. And just like the resources that you rattled off, maybe PTSA puts that on a handout for you to give to them. I just think every time you can talk to parents, just remind us of this.
Yeah, I will, because, reading, we started doing all of that reading, and reading became the big thing. And now it's like our kids suffered in those math skills, and the math skills really help our kids think. It helps them think differently. So it's important for us to make sure they're practicing that at home too. Anybody else? I mean, I did a lot of talking. But Ms. Bankston, do you want to say anything on behalf of the math department? Ms. Bankston, she's part of our GO team, but she's also our math instructional coach. So she's had to sit with me for hours and hours over the past couple of days.
No, I just really wanted to say you did a really good job of summing it up. As Ms. Gibbs stated, we've spent more than our share of a few hours debating, because our ultimate goal is to really try to reach all learners. And so we really wanted to really be honest with ourselves and what we need to do for our students. And so as she stated, we know it's going to be a lot of work, but I think my teachers are up for the challenge. And right now, our goal is really to try to meet each subgroup so that we can see some growth. But I appreciate everyone in your comments. And just know that we're constantly reflecting on how we can be better as teachers here and what we can do for each and every student. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. And I'm gonna end with this, and then I'm gonna give like 2 announcements, but I'm gonna end with this and say, we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know where we'll be next year, like what platform that our district will decide to stay with, or if they were gonna be allowed to stay with Amplify. So really, my teachers made this decision based on the fact that they're gonna be prepared for whatever, right? They're ready for whatever, and they're prepared for whatever, and they don't want any gaps in the learning for our kids. And that part right there made me confident to be able to come to you guys and be able to share with you guys their decision. And it became our decision, and we are 100% in support. So that's math. Woo! Okay, so
100% support from us too, just to follow up.
and I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
really
I
do
was gonna say
appreciate
the
that.
same.
I do
Yeah.
appreciate that. And that's why I wanted to come correct and be honest and transparent so you guys knew where we were. 2 quick announcements. We started One School, One Book today. So we are so excited. Last year, we had so much success when we did it in February. So this year, we're doing it twice. We're doing it now for a month, from here until Thanksgiving break, I believe, Ms.
Yes.
George. And then we will do it again in February, because February is Love to Read month. We have a different book, a more, not a graphic novel, more of a novel. This time we're doing a graphic novel because we just want them to get involved. So we're super excited. Encourage your learner to read every single day, a page or 2 or a chapter. I will be doing weekly chat and choose with them. That was my favorite part last year, was the weekly chat and choose, because we were all reading the same book and talking about the same thing. It was so much fun. And then the other thing is, it's called Gabbing with Gibbs, because y'all know I like to talk. So on Friday, we're having another principal chat, or a Gabbing with Gibbs chat. So I encourage you to come out, any parents who are watching, come out to our Gabbing with Gibbs on Friday, because I'm a lot of fun and it's fun to spend time with me. And that's at 3 p.m. The name of the book is Class Trip. So Class Act, sorry. He wrote Class Trip too, but last year we read New Kid by Jerry Craft. And this year we're reading it's kind of a sequel to it. It's Class Act by Jerry Craft. It's a graphic novel. We want everybody to be engaged in reading the book. We know graphic novels are kind of fun to read. You can also have it on audio. Last year, our bus driver put it on audiobook, and as she was driving with the kids, she had them listening to the book on her route. So it was pretty awesome. So definitely get engaged that way. And I think in February, the book is Brown Girl Dreaming in February. So, and my Prowler Pack students are the ones who actually chose the books. So I'm super duper excited. So I can't wait. That's the best part of the year, is the One School, One Book. Okay, so Ms. George, it's your turn to close us out.
Thank you, everyone. It was a very informative meeting, and appreciate the time to be able to discuss the math resources in this work session. We do not have any action items once again, so it is 5:19, and we are going to adjourn this meeting for today. Thank you so much. This will be posted and sent out, so parents and community, whoever, can watch it at their leisure.
And we'll post the presentation as well, so you guys will have it.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.